Welcome back, everyone, to Blue Collar Startup. I am your co-host, Mike Nelson, here with co-host and visionary founder of Blue Collar Startup, Derek Foster. Derek.
Mike, how we doing?
Fantastic.
Awesome.
I'm feeling pretty good.
Good.
Although I ate a whole bunch of sushi this afternoon at lunch, and I'm still kind of feeling that food. I don't really normally eat a lot of food at lunch, but today was an exception.
Too much wasabi.
I'm a little sleepy from it, yeah.
You look good, too.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I got my fresh haircut, my summer haircut. Thanks, Rad Russ up at Rad Razors. So we are... Well, first of all, let me start off with, if this is your first time listening, typically what we're doing here is we're interviewing people in the blue-collar industries. Sometimes it's business owners, sometimes it's managers. Today, we're joined by Jim Countryman from HVCC, also known as Hudson Valley Community College. And probably one of my favorite, I've never been there actually, never been on campus, but just from what I've learned about that school in the last year from this podcast actually, because we had another guest on from HVCC as well, in the auto body.
Mr. Matthew Perry.
Mr. Matthew Perry, not to be confused with Friends Matthew Perry. And
another great looking guy.
Another great, right, yes. Which one? The Friends or the?
Perry, Matt Perry. Yeah.
Matt Perry is.
So,
but they have a lot of great programs. Again, the blue collar industries are not typically college programs, right? And HVCC has gone a long way to create curriculum and programs for a lot of industries out there that it's needed. And so we're excited to have Jim here with us today. Jim, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on this beautiful 75-degree sunny day.
We skip spring.
There's windows in this room, though. They go a long way.
It's called Sprummer.
Yeah. Okay.
Sprummer.
Yeah, it's the new term.
I think my kids told me that. It's Sprummer, Dad. It's spring and summer.
There's snow in the long-term forecast.
Yeah.
We'll get some snow.
That's all right. You can open a pool this weekend.
2 weekends. Two more weekends. And it's heated, so we're okay. So, Jim, you do a few things over at HVCC, it sounds like. So rather than me messing it up, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
All right. So, I'm a graduate of the Electrical Construction and Maintenance program. Graduated from that program in 1999, and remember having a conversation with my brother at 18, 19 years old. What am I going to be when I grow up? That was probably the first and only intelligent conversation I've ever had with my younger brother. And I remember we're sitting in the living room eating dinner, watching TV, and he says, who's got a cake job? Tim Fitzmaurice. Tim Fitzmaurice was our tech teacher in high school.
Okay.
He did have a great gig, having absolutely no idea what goes into being a teacher, right? It looks like fun.
Oh, it's simple. You just show up to class and
we both during that conversation, we both decided that we were going to go be technology teachers. My father's a licensed electrician, taught at Ulster County BOCES for 32 years before he retired. So both my brother and I went to SUNY Oswego after I graduated from the ECM program. Had this conversation with my brother, deciding, what I want to do now. Do I want to keep going to school? Do I want to get into the trade? Was working for an electrical contractor. Transferred up to SUNY Oswego, got my degree in technology education. And at the time that I was about to graduate from Oswego, ton of jobs in that field in technology teaching. And my department chair from Hudson Valley, Joe Cerubi, called me. My dad would bring his students up from Ulster County BOCES on field trips for the electrical program. And Joe says, hey, we've got an opening here. You want to come apply? So I'm sure I went and applied. And here I am 20 years later. I stopped counting. I'm kind of afraid of counting. I don't want, 20 years is a long time all of a sudden. So I've been an instructor in that program for the last 20 years. I teach in the residential and commercial shop. Our students are 8 hours a week in a hands-on shop class. And teach the theory classes, first-year theory classes. And 2 years ago, they did some restructuring of the administration, and I also assumed a role as a program coordinator. So basically, our department chair's assistant. The department chairs now oversee a number of different programs. Mm-hmm. Our department chair has an automotive background, doesn't know a lot of the technical aspects of the heating refrigeration program, the electrical construction and maintenance program. So they've got a program coordinator to help him through that part of his job. A lot of things going on. We also have an overhead line worker certificate program. I serve as the program coordinator for that program as well. So, yeah.
It's amazing all the programs that they have over there, actually. Because every time I talk to someone, it's like I learn about one more program.
Yeah, I mean, we've got an electric vehicle program. They're actually in development right now of an aviation mechanics program. They've got a hangar, I believe, at Stewart Airport, Albany International Airport, that they're renting and building a program to train aircraft mechanics. I don't know a lot of details, but I know that much. Heating, refrigeration systems, overhead line worker. We have our students take the first year of our electrical construction and maintenance program. They take a power utility systems course at night in their second semester. Then they go over for a 40-hour a week, 3-week pole climbing school over at in Schenectady at National Grid's training facility. So National Grid, we partnered with them. They actually allow us to utilize their training facility for 6 weeks, two sections of 3 weeks. They get their OSHA certification for their pole climbing and seek employment in the utility industry.
Very cool.
What's enrollment like?
Through the roof. For the technologies, electrical construction and maintenance, heating, refrigeration, automotive, ECM program, we have a wait list. We're already wait listed for the fall. The way it works, it's hard to say exactly how many are waitlisted. Once we have so we take 96 students into our program per year for the full-time day students. We have another between 16 and 32, depending on how many sections they can run at our TechSmart facility in Malta. So we expanded up there a few years ago. We also have an evening program, so students that are working full-time during the day or didn't get into the day program can go to school part-time at night, finish their 2-year degree in 3 years, and they go 2 summers during that 3 years to finish up. So enrollment's through the roof. We really, it's hard to tell how many are on the wait list because once they have 96 students on the wait list, then they send program filled letters, because if you get, my understanding is, if you get wait listed, they guarantee you a seat the next year. So they don't want to have too many kids on the wait list because then they're in trouble next year.
Yeah.
So who knows how many program filled letters they're sending out. So we tell students, apply as soon as you possibly can and be a squeaky wheel. Where am I on the wait list?
Do other schools have wait lists for? That sounds amazing.
know.
I'm wondering how that stacks up against other community college programs.
That's a great question. I know health sciences typically, there's wait lists. A lot of the technologies. I honestly the liberal arts and general education. I don't know.
Yeah, I know how dire it is that we need people in those trade programs.
Yeah.
So it's like
absolutely.
it's nice to hear that they exist, number one, but number two, that there's so many people interested in them that you're
there's
getting
a huge
waitlisted.
interest. And
That's where the money is, guys.
It really is. My predecessors built an amazing program. They really did. We're all right now kind of riding the coattails and riding the wave of what these guys built. Certainly, we've added to it. We've had a lot of publicity. That overhead line worker program really kind of slingshotted things for us as well. There was a lot of publicity there. And then once the word's out, I can go be a lineman out of this program. National Grid's going to hire me and pay me how much?
Right.
Sign me up. And, just about every one of our line worker students, dads, uncles, brothers, friends, all either came through the program, worked for National Grid, Central Hudson. That a few years ago really helped our enrollment.
What's the cost of an associate's degree?
So tuition for one semester is $2,400, in-state tuition. So multiply that by 4. There's, they get you with a bunch of fees. There's $500 to $600 and, your technology fee and your student activities fee, things along those lines per semester. So $500 to $600 per semester. So you're looking at, between, I'll say 10, somewhere around 10 grand for that 2-year degree.
Let's call it 15 for the sake of argument.
Yeah.
What are other degree programs cost? Like, what are, I just hear about the kind of college debt that kids are coming out of school with all the time with no guarantee of jobs.
I remember when I graduated from Oswego, we're out there trying to decide what job we're going to take. My buddy Mike installed carpet, through high school, worked for a contractor. When he went home for summer vacation, he's installing carpet for this contractor. And he's got his business degree, his 4-year degree, just spent all kinds of money at SUNY Oswego, got his 4-year degree. I was trying to decide, am I going to go to work for Hudson Valley? Am I going to go to work for Red Hook Middle School and be a tech teacher? What am I going to do? And he went home and worked for the guy installing carpet for the next couple of years before he finally found a job, you know? So, I mean, the demand is out there for our students. Anybody in the trades, you know, there's a huge demand. And the money's phenomenal.
Yeah,
I mean, tremendous value.
I always joke that my students will go out there. You guys are going to make more money than me in 2 years. You know? And they will. They're going to work more hours. I mean, that's the nice gig. That's the nice part about my gig is, I have the same schedule as the college kids. You know,
right.
But yeah, for them to go out there and I mean, they're making six figures pretty
quickly
after employment.
Yeah. I know we've talked to a few people where you've got kids that are coming. I say kids, you know, they're young adults, but you've got people in their 20s coming out of some trades programs and they're making $80,000-$90,000 a year. And you know, listen, if you're going to give me $90,000 in the first year, and all I got to do is invest 2 years and $15,000, that's a hell of an investment.
Absolutely. I had a student last week. I said, "Hey, how's the job search going?" He says, I just got an opportunity, an offer, $34 an hour, and he told me this, and how much? He told me again, $25,000 sign-on bonus.
Yeah, man.
$34 an hour, $25,000 sign-on bonus. Kind of looking at him like, you know, I'm sure there's some obligation on his part. He's probably got to stay there for 5 years or whatever, but it's a really good company, very desirable company to work for. We've got a ton of graduates working for this company, and you know. With overtime, he's doing well.
Yeah.
So if I'm a high school kid, and I'm picturing myself back in my high school days, but you know, I worked construction through high school and college. But even if I didn't go to college, it would almost make sense to do the night program, work during the day, and you can essentially supplement your income.
It depends on who you are.
Yeah.
The problem for a lot of kids is they're all or nothing mentalities, right? They're working. They're in school, they're in school. Once a young ambitious person goes to work and they start making money, they start buying stuff. And once they start buying stuff, they got to pay for that stuff and they got to work more. And it becomes kind of that vicious cycle. Yeah. It's very hard for a student to go to school, a young student, go to school part-time, work full-time. Number one, time management is very difficult because there's some out of class, you know, stuff they got to do to make sure their grades are where they need to be. And then, overtime pops up. Oh, my boss asked me to work. Oh, geez, I couldn't study this week. You know what I mean? So, in most cases, I try to recommend to students, if that opportunity is available, you know, you've got a supportive family, you've got the funding available to, number one, pay for college tuition and so on, and number two, support yourself while you're going to school full time.
Yeah.
Get in, get out, get that 2-year degree, be a college student for 2 years of your life. You got the next 40-something years to work full time. Take advantage of it, you know, go to school full time and then reap the benefits of that degree when you graduate. You know, the night program's great for students. Hey, I couldn't get into the day program, so, okay, I got an opportunity to go at night. Or, hey, you know, my family doesn't have the financial means to support me through school, so I have to work, right? So I've got to work either a lot of hours part-time or full-time and go to school. We have a lot of students that are a little bit older in their later 20s and 30s, 40s and 50s even, that are looking to change careers. You know, they've been working for the state. I have 2 students right now working for the state, and they're going to retire, and they want to get out, and they want to go do something different, and they're going through this 2-year degree program at night. So there's a lot of diversity as far as, you know, age and background in our evening program as opposed to the day program. Large majority of the day program students are right out of high school, or a lot of them are. I went to college and attempted my business degree or sociology degree, or I thought I wanted to be a history teacher, and now I have a plan and I want to go out there and get into a trade. So they're early 20s, you know, try and attempt number 2 at college, and most of them are very successful. It's not for everybody, you know. That's one of the things that I try to impress upon people, that, you know, going into the trades, it takes some talent, it takes some work ethic, it takes some skill, and certainly we're teaching skill, and we're trying to do our best to help teach some work ethic, but it's not a free ride. We've had athletes coming through. My coach told me I should take this program because it'll be easy. And it's a little bit of a rude awakening. It's not easy. It's not a walk in the park. It's like anything else. If you're in the right place, you're enjoying what you're doing. I use the analogy with my students all the time. I teach a commercial wiring class and teach them how to bend conduit, right? Install 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch EMT. And it's a challenge in the beginning. Some students really struggle with it. And, my analogy is, all right, if you're a kid and you're playing baseball, if you're good at it, you like it. If you suck at it, you probably don't like it. So if you want to play baseball and you suck at it and you're not having fun, you work your ass off, you practice, you work hard, and you get better at it. And when you get better at it, it starts to become fun, right? But you reach a point, too, where you're going, I think I'd be better playing lacrosse because I enjoy that more. So at some point, you got to make that decision where, is this the trade I want to get into? Am I a tradesperson or is there some other avenue, But I think, overall, there's some great opportunities. And if the students come in with the right attitudes, some basic manual skills, there's some students that have a hard time tying their shoes, probably not going to be successful in the trades, But if they come in with a little bit of some manual skills and some trade-oriented mindsets, they usually do pretty well.
So it's not necessarily about having a construction background, like Derek grew up around it and did it, during high school and stuff. But not so much having a construction background, but at least knowing the difference between a flathead and a Phillips head screwdriver, or or a K if they don't even know that.
I start off day one, and my joke on day one is, listen, kids, we assume you know absolutely nothing about this trade. Okay, my first lesson is this is the black wire and this is the white wire. What color is this wire? And they all say black. And I wait, what color is this wire? And they all say white. Okay, we're moving on. Here's what they do, right? But no, I assume they have absolutely no background. I remember a few years ago, early on in my career, I'm showing them how to use knockout punch set, right? Make knockouts in metal boxes. And we've got the old ratchet type, and then we show them the hydraulic. And one kid raised his hand, what's a ratchet? A ratchet, like a ratchet. Socket. And he's shaking his head no. And I'm going, okay, hold on, stand by. And I run in the storeroom, and I get the socket set out, and I show them what a ratchet is, and the large majority of the students were kind of like, okay, really? This kid had no idea what a ratchet was, So I've had students, literally the first time they've had tools in their hands were in my shop class. I had a kid, or again, early on in my career, and this is when I kind of learned that they don't. So I had that background, right? My father's a licensed electrician. My father was a teacher. I worked with him since, I was old enough for my mother to be like, get this kid out of my house, take him to work before I kill him, So off to work with Dad I went, and I didn't realize until I was older how much I learned at a very young age, just watching Dad, playing with the tools, not really even working with them, But yeah, they're all over the place as far as their experience with tools and their background. And sometimes this kid I was going to talk about, Carl. One of the first things we do is splice wire together. Okay, guys, take 14 gauge wire, strip the ends off. You're going to make a 2-wire splice. Do 3 of them. Show me. Make a 3-wire splice. Show me. Make a 4-wire splice. Show me. Do a couple different types of oddball splices, and I can learn a lot about their mechanical ability at that point, watching them do what they're doing, So this kid, Carl, was struggling. I'm looking at him like, man, I don't know, So, and he was obvious. He was very aware of how much he was struggling, which is good. A lot of kids, they're struggling and don't know it, So I said, look, bud, I'm thinking this kid, he'll be gone in a week or two, And he said, can I take some wire home and practice? I said, sure. And we cut some wire, took it home, came in the following Monday. Perfect splices, right? And he says, look, he goes, he's got blisters on his fingers. He's got little, and he was working all week on making splices. Yeah. And he was a straight A student. And got a job as a lineman for Central Hudson. Again, making way more money than I make, doing really well. He's probably been there for 18 years now. But that was early on in my career. Okay, we got to give these guys a chance. You can't write somebody off because they're not bringing the background with them, So
it's interesting. He hit a roadblock in took it upon himself to learn.
Oh, yeah,
It's impressive.
And that's what you want. You want to see these kids with some ambition. Sometimes you got to pry it out of them too.
Yeah.
One of the things, and from my own experience, I mean, I had a conversation with my students today. We had some, it's 13th grade for a lot of these kids. They're young kids. And I said, guys, I'm kind of yelling at him a little bit. And I said, guys, I'm you 25 years later. You got to realize that. I understand who you are. I get it, So I have to go back sometimes and remind myself of who my students are,
Yeah.
And, so.
Well, and they don't teach, like, do they still have wood shop and metal shop? And like, I remember growing up, like we had, 6th grade was wood shop. And then 7th grade, you had an option of wood shop or metal shop. And then 8th grade was definitely metal shop. And I remember, I think in 7th, I actually did both wood and metal shop. And I loved metal shop because we were welding and doing all sorts of crazy. We were making knives and shit. Like, it was great. But I don't think because I keep asking my kids, I'm like, do you guys have like shop class? And they're like, well, we've got STEM.
Yeah, right. So the shift,
hell that is.
Yeah, back, I'm going to say late 90s, early 2000s, there was that big shift from industrial arts, right, to technology education. And, it went from more trades-based learning to more technology-based learning, right? More computer-aided drafting.
Yeah, look at that, how that's working out for us right now, right?
Yeah, it's... And the VOTEC, the BOCES programs, I mean, they're there. They're not necessarily being marketed to the right folks. You know what I mean? The students that are going through the BOCES program aren't always the ones that are going to be most successful in those BOCES programs. And they're a great feeder for our program. They really are. So, I think we're failing our students, our kids in the, the middle schools and the high schools. The technology programs are there, but I don't think they're working up to the potential that they should be. In my opinion, we should really be exposing kids to trades. Here's a real metal shop. And we don't have to teach them necessarily marketable skills at that level, but just show them what's out there, you know? And, a lot of times, the kids will come on field trips and they're looking at our shops and go, their eyes are like wide open. Like, what do you guys do? They have no idea these trades exist, And a lot of it, I think, stems from the fact that, and I'm not downplaying the importance of the guidance counselors and the high school, middle school teachers. And I'm not saying they're not doing their best. They're doing what they know, right? Their background is, hey, I went to high school, I went to a 4-year college, I got my master's degree, and they haven't been exposed to this stuff, And it's hard for them they're not familiar with something. How can they expose their students to that, information? So a lot of times we reach out through our admissions office to the guidance counselors and so on, and we actually have an open house this Friday. We've got 3 BOCES programs coming, and my brother is buddies with, he's also a technology teacher. So we both went to SUNY Oswego, got our tech degree. So my brother, myself, my father, my girlfriend, and my sister-in-law are all teachers,
Oh, yeah.
And there's an association of technology teachers that I've reached out to, and my goal is to get them to Hudson Valley. Hey, here's all the programs we got going on. Let's set something up where you get your kids to take a look at this stuff once a year, It's like what you guys are doing. If you can get the information out there, people will come to you,
Yeah, sooner or later.
Yeah.
Hopefully sooner.
Yeah, right.
Later.
You'll have a wait list in no time.
Oh, let's hope. We'll keep pushing.
Got to get in front of the youth.
That's it. Yeah, right. So, so as you look at kind of the whole system as a whole right now, right? Like the education system coming up through high school, coming into the college, coming into what I'm gonna call you guys the blue collar college now.
I like that. That's a compliment.
Yeah, right. So what kind of I guess advice would you give kids that are trying to figure out, or they're considering their options, or what would you tell them to do if they're not sure, they're unsure if blue collar college is for them?
Don't be afraid to try. Don't be intimidated by it. I think there's an intimidation factor. I think students walk through our labs and shops and they see, the first year of our program is residential commercial construction. Not horribly intimidating. You walk into our second year courses. We're automation, instrumentation, process control. I mean, it's high-tech, computer-operated, automated manufacturing systems that we're teaching our students to design, build, and maintain. It's some pretty intimidating technology they're looking at, and I think students often feel like if they don't have that background, that other people do. And I think they're afraid to make that leap, make that jump, and get their hands dirty. So, I would encourage them to take that risk, take that chance, and jump in with both feet. This is another conversation I have with students all the time. Week 4 or 5, student comes to me, and I have that conversation with them early on. Listen, if you're not having fun, you might not be in the right place.
Right.
But you got to put 110% in, right? This goes back to the baseball analogy, right? If you're not practicing, don't expect to get good. And if you're not good, don't expect to have fun, right?
Yeah.
The student comes to me and says, I don't think this is for me. And 9 times out of 10, my response is, how do you know? You haven't done anything yet. The work ethic's tough, this generation, the younger students, I know we've beat this to death, but the work ethic is tough. So
do you think that we help? Because I just had a talk with my 12-year-old the other day about this stuff and talking about like how bad you want it.
Yeah.
Like, because I know, like, if you want to be the best baseball player ever and you suck at baseball, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
It means how hard you got to work, right? Comes that, and that's it. That's why I say that. Like,
yeah, but he's going to go to baseball practice now, and he's going to be on the losing team, and he's still going to get a trophy. That's the problem, right? Everybody's getting a trophy. Hey, it's okay. You don't have to be good at it. We'll still push you along. Hey, congratulations, you graduated. You got an F in everything, but that's okay.
Right.
That's where we're tripping. Students get to me, and they've gone through that. Everybody gets a trophy high school career, and all of a sudden, it's like it's culture shock. I gotta do homework. I have to study. I have to show up every day. And that's one of my biggest challenges. I think I spend 25% of my time motivational speaking. To
the kids in your program.
Yeah, guys. Here's the expectation. You got to show up. You got to hey, you come here, talk to me one-on-one out in the hall. What's going on? It takes that to get these kids motivated. Number one, you've got to show them the light at the end of the tunnel. Here's the opportunities that you want to be successful. Here's the path to success. And then even when you show them that path to success, that success story for them at their age seems so far away that they're living in the moment right now, and it's nice out, and I'm going outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, I remember how fast the time went, and I remember as a fourth semester student at Hudson Valley Community College, thinking, I got plenty of time till I got to think about finding a job. You blink your eyes and you're going, I'm graduating.
And you're 46.
But why is this? I'm wearing a cap and gown. How'd this happen? And now I'm 44 going, what do I want to be when I grow up? So, I think the biggest thing I would tell students is, number one, don't be afraid to invest in yourself and go for it. But when you go for it, Put in 100%. I was saying before that conversation with the students is how do you know it's not for you? You haven't done anything yet. Don't tell me it's not for you when you haven't put your effort forward and proven to yourself that you can do this, But,
kids quit really easy.
Yeah, they do. And it takes a lot. And I give my colleagues credit. We're all kind of in that boat. Most of us are graduates from the program, and most of us share this mindset. And there's a lot of motivation going on in our building. There really is. We really bond with our students. We have we take an initiative to get to know our students, on a personal level, and try to figure out what makes them tick and feed them what they need to be successful and move on in the field,
So what does I'm curious, what does the relationship look like with employers in the area?
It's great. We, all of us, most of us in our program have worked in the trades. We've become very familiar with many of the employers. I would say almost the majority of the employers are either former graduates of our program or they have graduates of our program working for them. So the connections are just endless, We're now having we have a new department chair who's kind of been pushing this, which is great. It's a lot of work on our part, but it's great that he's supporting this and kind of pushing this. But we've had career fairs now every semester for a while since COVID, and we have to shut it off. Otherwise, we don't have enough room in our building to set up tables for potential employers to come in. And I would say 80% of those employers either have hired our students in the past or are actually graduates of our program coming through. So, yeah, I mean, I get phone calls on my cell phone on a weekly basis anyway from, people I've worked with or former graduates of the program. Or, hey, I'm looking for somebody. You got anybody? Send me a flyer, and we'll post it.
So your placement rate's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell when I tell students, I tell potential students that we have 100% job placement, right? We get a field trip full of BOCES kids coming in. I say, guys, we have 100% job placement. Now, here's the deal. There are students that will walk through that door that are not cut out for the trade, right? They're not mature enough, ready to actually put the time, effort, work in to be successful in anything. They walk in thinking, hey, I can do this, and it's not my thing, right? I want to be a track star, but I can't jump more than 2 feet, whatever. Not everyone's cut out for every aspect of our trade. So, of the students that come into the program geared towards being successful in a trade, they put the time in, they show up every day, they work hard. I can't name a name and tell a story of a student that could not find employment. The biggest challenge for the students that have a hard time, it usually comes back to, and when I say this, it's not an insult to those students, but personality traits, right? I had one individual a few years ago, one of the best students. He was actually one of my father's students, came through our program. The kid was phenomenal. I actually hired him to work for me summer, I think between his first and second year. And I kept in touch with him. He's having a hard time finding a job. And he was this kind of kid. Bobby, how you doing today? He'd look down and go, good. What's going on? He'd look down and go, nothing. So while this kid brought it all to the table, I'm sure his interview skills were atrocious, and he ended up getting a great job. I don't remember, he's from down Ulster County area. I don't remember where he went to work. He reached out to me maybe 5 years ago. He's now looking to hire. He'd moved up in the company. He's in a supervisor position. Nice. And he's now looking for me to recommend somebody to hire, so he did well. But I think most of the time it's how ambitious are the students in seeking employment. I have this conversation every day with these kids. Hey, how's the job search going? Well, I'm going to wait till I graduate. Okay, why? Well, hey, they're hiring. Get your resumes out there right now. We have a course called Trade Skills Development, kind of a technical writing class, a 1-credit course they take in the fall of their second year. And the focus on that course is making sure that they have a quality resume. They've got the cover letter. They've got all the stuff ready to go. We'll do mock interviews and talk about the job search with them. So we try to get them those tools as well, But yeah, the large majority of the students are out there with, their biggest stress is figuring out which employer to go with as opposed to, am I going to get a job,
Wow. That's amazing.
I was just thinking about it. Yeah, it's how to phrase the question. I'm curious as to how that compares to other. I don't want to make it about the college institutions, but other degree programs and other fields, because part of the reason for this podcast in general is to help people understand the need for blue collar industry and for trades. So
in my view, it's not necessarily about the trade; it's about a trade, right? If you're going to school to go to school, or you're going to school to prepare yourself to go to school more, where are your opportunities, right? When you're going to school specifically to go to work in a field, in a trade, whether it's health science, whether it's, any of the trades, whether it's, you want to be a fireman or a police officer or whatever, you're going to get a job. If you do the research, we have students that want to transfer to Oswego or transfer to Pennsylvania College's technology or, get in a building automation. And they asked me for advice. What do you think I should do? And I said, I think you should go do your research. I think you should go to that college. I think you talk to an advisor, talk to the students, find out what their job placement is, find out where the students are going to work, and talk to the employers. Right? Find out what that potential future looks like for you before you make that decision. I would say that to high school kids. Go out there and do the research. Are there jobs in this field? When I was graduating from Oswego, there was like 40 something technology teacher openings in the state, it's nowhere near that right now.
Right.
That side of our world has shrunk considerably. I think I don't remember the number, but I mean, there's I want to say there was like 8 graduates from the tech program or something like that. Or not, maybe it was Buffalo's program, but it's nowhere near what it was 20 years ago, so there's ebbs and flows with every trade, with every, career path. But I think that's one of the more important things is to do your homework and find out what the opportunities are going to look like when you graduate from that program.
Do you see so I know that I always, and maybe it was my own perception, but it always seemed like maybe there was I don't want to say a prejudice, but like a 2-year school was looked down on by the 4-year schools, and trades are looked down on by some of the more white collar professional services stuff. Is that still something you see? Is that
I think that's human nature, right?
Yeah.
We all like to look down on the other person because it makes us feel better, right?
Yeah.
Right. Mr. or Mrs. PhD is going, oh, those blue collar folks, and Mr. Blue Collar folk or Mrs. Blue Collar folk is looking at those PhDs going, you can't do what I do. You know what I mean? I think that's just human nature. I think that's going to continue on forever. I think the reality is that, there's opportunities on both sides. I think that, the folks that choose to go the blue collar route are choosing that route because that's who they are.
Yeah.
Right? They have talent. They have skills. They have interests that point them that direction, right? The folks that are going on to their 4-year degrees, master's degrees, and PhDs, and they're going into whatever they're going into, they've got a background, they've got interests, they've got skills and intellect that allows them to go that direction. So I think that goes on. That prejudice is there, I think, on both sides.
Yeah.
When I talk to people in our field, we like to badmouth those real educated folks that couldn't survive a day in this muddy ditch putting this PVC pipe together, Yeah. And sure, at the same time, I think most parents are pushing their kids to, keep those hands clean, go to college.
Yeah.
But I think, reality catches up to everybody, and we end up going down the road that we're meant to go down,
Yeah. Well, and again, what made me think of that too was just what you were saying about, do your homework. And because I think if you're doing your homework, you're going to find out that that blue collar stuff, there's plenty of money to be made. And
absolutely.
There's a lot of, like we say all the time, there's a lot of millionaire plumbers out there, man. And it's, if someone's listening and they feel that way, just not to let that prejudice or that stigma steer them away from a 2-year program.
And I'll say that the trades skills of 20, 30, 40 years ago are not the trade skills of today. There's the technology that our students are working with is state of the art. There's a level of training, whether it's the automotive industry, whether it's the electrical industry, the air heating and air conditioning industry. Everything is operated with a processor. Everything is computer operated, automated, happens automatically. All types of input-output devices and sensors and programming, and it's highly sophisticated technology. Now. Having said that, we still need to run pipe and wire from the panel to that equipment, okay? And we still need somebody to do that. So you don't need to have that level of sophistication, technology, training to be a successful tradesperson, okay? But for those folks that are capable of and have interest in that aspect of the trade, there's countless opportunities out there.
And where does someone go with a 2-year degree? So let's just say I come into one of your programs, trades programs. I get a 2-year degree, but I want to continue on with my education, my learning in some sort of blue collar trade or field.
Sure.
Is there a next step education wise?
So to work as a hands-on technician, right? The answer is yes and no. How far do you want your education to go? I'll use an example of automation specialist, right? So you go through the first year of our ECM program, residential commercial wiring. You're learning the basics. You're learning the basic AC and DC theory, how electrical circuitry works, right? You go through the second year of the program, you learn about power distribution. You learn about automation technology, motor controls, programmable controllers, variable frequency drives, all this stuff, right? Now you're going to go to work for a company, right? You go to work for Honeywell. You go to work for Rockwell Automation, Siemens, whoever you go to work for. They're now going to train you on their equipment, right? So you've got the basics from that 2-year degree program, okay? You go to work for that company, and they're going to send you back to their school, and you're going to take your general knowledge and now focus it on and apply it to their specific equipment that you'd be working on for that company, right? So to continue on, bang for your buck. Do you want to go get a 4-year degree in automation? Yeah, I mean, that's great. It's going to cost you a lot of money.
Right.
What are the potential better opportunities out there? Are there better opportunities out there? And, it really depends on where that person lands. So I think in my mind, the purpose of these 2-year technology-based degrees, right? The electrical degrees, the HVAC degrees, the automotive degrees, is to teach the students the basics, okay? And one of the reasons that I can say we have 100% job placement is we've taught the basics, right? We've got a background in residential wiring. We've got a background in commercial wiring. They can bend pipe and install conduit. They understand, 3-phase lighting control circuits. They understand motor control. They understand programmable controllers. They've worked with automation systems. They've programmed PLCs. They understand transformers and power distribution. So they've got a blueprint reading and estimating class that they've taken, right? They've taken the math courses. So they've been exposed to a huge variety of different aspects of the trade. So now they do 2 things. Like, what am I good at? What do I like? Right? And that's the direction they go. Once they decide, okay, where am I going? That's when the learning, in my opinion, really takes place, right? In my opinion, I'm teaching a student the basics so that when they get out in the trade, they can learn the trade. It's also a good opportunity for them to figure out what aspect of the trade they enjoy and what they're good at it. So when they get out there, they can really thrive. My residential wiring class, my commercial wiring class, they're approximately 120 hours of instruction, right? Hands-on instruction. Of that 120 hours, maybe 20 of those is me talking to the students, right? Like in a lecture environment. The other 100 hours is them actually doing the installations. That's the equivalent of 3 weeks, 40 hours a week of work, right? So while it takes a whole semester at 8 hours a week times 15 or 16 weeks to get that 120 hours in, which seems like a lot, when you put it into perspective, you dump somebody out into the electrical field for 3 weeks, what do they know at the end of that 3 weeks? It's minimal. Now, we're laser focused on teaching them what they need to get started in the trade, right? But we're getting them the basics, and when they get out there, they really refine what they learn with us. There are a few schools out there, SUNY IT, SUNY Oswego, Pennsylvania College of Technology, name a few, that do have, Delhi, I believe, has a 4-year mechatronics degree that we can transfer into. So yes, a student can opt to continue their formal education. That typically opens up more doors of opportunity for them, which gets their hands less dirty and makes them a little bit more money. But as far as the Bob Bristow, one of my former colleagues, one of my instructors, retired a couple years ago. He calls it the dirt under the fingernails, folks. If you're a dirt under the fingernail folk, you're probably good with that 2-year degree, and you're going to go out there and start your career.
And still make a heck of a lot of money.
And make a heck of a lot of money.
Just checking our time. I don't want to keep you here all day, Jim. We do
having fun.
appreciate
I'm having fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm going to be horribly embarrassed when I listen to this, though. You know, I can't believe this. Is that what my voice really sounds like? You know, do you hate listening to your own voice?
I'll tell you, I don't mind it so much on the recordings, but when I do video work, and I see we just did a promo video for 5 Towers, and we had to interview me on it, and I'm like looking, man, I look like shit. you know, and I'm like, and I sound like a jerk. I'm like, is that what I sound like? Like, are you serious, man?
Yep. I was in my little rant at my students today, you know, telling them how they're young and 18, and this is the way young 18-year-olds act. So I don't hate you for it, kids. You know, I get it. I remember being, you know, where you're at. I said, you know, my buddy when I was younger brought a video camera everywhere we went. You know, we went to a party, he brought the video camera. We went on spring break, he brought the video camera. Everywhere we went, you know. And a couple years ago, we got together and we watched these videos.
Oh, that's
and
hilarious.
I was mortified. I mean, give me those discs. No, give it to me. I want to burn it. It was horrible, you know. And I'm telling these kids, like, listen, when I tell you that you're inexperienced, ignorant, naive, and it's not an insult. It's just a fact, kid. So open your eyes, open your ears,
oh my
and
God.
Listen to what these folks around you have to tell you. You know, don't make the mistakes.
If I met my 23-year-old self, I would kick his ass.
Horrible. Yep.
It's terrible.
Yep.
So I know we want to get to try to wrap it up here. You know, I'm sure Derek's got another question too, so I don't want to hog the mic, but
I guess what word of advice if would you give, Jim, to any high school kid that's trying to figure out what to do?
So talk to people that know, right? We're surrounded by, you know, professionals out there, their parents, their uncles, their aunts. Everybody knows an electrician. And if you don't, call one. Mm-hmm. You know, talk to people that have been there and done that, you know, and find out, ask questions. What is the day? What do you do every day? Time Warner guy, Spectrum guy comes to your house. Talk to that person. What are you doing today? How much money do you make? A kid asked me how much money I make. I'm telling them because they're curious. They want to know that they're looking up to me, right? Spectrum guy comes to your house and some kid says, hey, tell me about what you do for a living. Where'd you go to school? Where was your training? What happens if this goes wrong? Did they give you a truck? Do you get free cable? How much money did they start you at, right? Those are all legitimate questions for a kid to ask an adult who's looking to decide what they want to do when they become an adult, right? I'm asking you guys this before we started the recording. I'm all curious about how you guys got to where you're at. You know what I mean? And I almost ask you, how much money are you making with your business? You know what I mean? I wouldn't go there because I'm not 18 and I know better. But
I told you I'm in the cat food.
Right. So yeah, I think that be curious and don't be afraid to ask people questions in a professional manner. You know. I think that's a challenge for kids where, you know, we're in the, you know, my saying is that they live under the social media rock, right? Their communication is now through text and social media, and they don't have the social skills that we'd love them to have at this point. And there's a learning process that has to take place there. But, you know, talk to your teachers, talk to your guidance counselors, you know, talk to the trades people in your life and have an intelligent conversation with them. You know, I talk to kids all the time. What's your dad do for a living? I don't know. What? What do you mean? Where does he work? Oh, he works for GE. What's he do there? I don't know. Something with wires, I guess. I don't know. Have that conversation with your dad, your mom, you know, find out what they do for a living. Do they like what they do for a living, you know? It amazes me sometimes, you know, how, and I was fortunate because my dad took me to work with him, you know, and we talked and I watched him work and I watched him talk with other people and I never realized it until, actually I bought a bucket truck, a couple months ago and I've got my girlfriend's 8-year-old in the truck with me while I'm wheeling and dealing on the phone, you know, and I hung up the phone with the guy and I turned and I said, so, hey, Jay. I said, so the guy wants $6,000 for this truck. I said, what do you think? I said, I want to offer him $5,000. What do you think? And he says, well, Jim, he goes, if you offer him $5,000, he might get mad at you and not sell you the truck. And he goes, is that difference enough to not get the truck? When I'm looking back at him, I'm like, he gets it. He's listening, you know? Mm-hmm. So not enough of that's going on. You know, kids need to realize that all the answers are around them. They just have to tune into those answers,
Get away from the screen and have some conversation.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Yep.
I'll tell you.
Good advice.
Yep.
It is.
Yep.
So if someone wants to learn more about the now aptly named Blue Collar College, also known as HVCC, and your program or what you're doing there, and please let your marketing department know that I'm happy to work with them.
We will do that.
But if they want to learn more about the programs and everything we're talking about here, how do they find it?
Step number 1, hvcc.edu. Stay away from those screens, kids. Go to hvcc.edu. Go right to admissions, all the programs. They can search by program, all the information. The courses are all laid out there. Phone numbers and emails for advisors and so on. And, if they are interested and they make that phone call, they can get an appointment set up with myself or one of my colleagues to come through on a tour. We do a few open houses every semester, so they're welcome to come into that. We just did one a couple Saturdays ago. We had about 35 potential students and parents walk through and get the grand tour. And, if there's more demand for that, we'll do more open houses, So, get on the website. That's a great place to start. Read about the different programs, make those phone calls, talk to the advisors, talk to the instructors. Is there an instructor in this program that I can talk to? Because, those are the folks that know the trade, know the program, and can not only advise them as far as the degree of the program, the courses, and so on, but can also answer questions regarding the trade. What's the day in the life of a lineman look like? What's the day in the life of an electrician that works for this contractor look like?
Yeah, that's great. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks again for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I enjoyed this. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
And if you're listening and you know someone that's maybe thinking about college, we're coming up on high school graduations all around the country here. So, if you've got someone trying to figure out what they're trying to do, maybe send them this show, have them listen to Jim talking about some of the programs over at Blue Collar College.
Share the show.
Make your kids listen to it. Tell them get out there and go get it. There's lots of opportunities out there.
Yeah, tell them we're cool. We swear on the podcast.
Yeah,
so that's right. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can, of course, find us at bluecollarstartup.io. And please, if you are a aspiring or budding blue collarpreneur, check out our blue collar blueprint that we have on the website. Some free content for business owners, and it's real life business owners telling you how they do what they did, or did what they do, or do what they do, and all the stuff. So check it out. Thanks, everybody.